This week's episode of Dreams and Drive is brought to you by Charmin. Charmin has long-lasting mega rolls that aim to give you a better bathroom experience. Those who use Charmin really enjoy the go.
Not giving up makes me proud because, like I said, everyone around me in high school, they knew what school they wanted to go to. They had passion about it. I was kind of the child where my family was like, oh, Lord, what are we going to do? I never gave up on myself, even when I felt like some people did give up on me. Don't beat yourself up because it seems like everyone else's goals is happening and yours are not. Your path is different. So just continue to work hard until your time comes. And when it does, you will be proud of how you kept working no matter how hard times got. What's up, everybody? It's Resa B, and you're listening to Dreams and Drive.
Hey, Dream Drivers. Welcome to episode 264 of the Dreams and Drive podcast. Today, we're going to be speaking with Resa B. who is a senior brand manager at Luster Products Incorporated, where she leads the Luster's Pink brand. As a third-generation Luster and the granddaughter of Luster Products founder Fred Luster Sr., it's safe to say that Resa has grew up living and breathing all things beauty and hair care. It was so inspiring to be able to hear her share her dream driving journey and talk about how she ended up working in the family business and all that she's doing to spearhead the brand into a new digital age, from her social media marketing, influencer marketing, all the innovative things she's doing on the brand marketing side. She shares so much. Some of the things that we talk about in this episode include how she ended up working in the family business, marketing strategies that we can use to create viral content, working with influencers, how the Luster team handled the COVID-19 pandemic. And we also talk about family and career. Resa is a first-time mom like me. Our children are one day apart. So she talks about how she's balancing motherhood and career. And that part of the conversation was one that I really enjoyed. So before we get into the episode, remember you can follow us online. We are Dreams and Drive across all our social media channels. And make sure that you are sharing this episode with a friend. So wherever you're listening, make sure that you are subscribed so that you get notifications every time we have a new episode. And remember, if you want to rock some Dreams and Drive merchandise, we still have crew neck sweatshirts and t-shirts available at dreamsanddrive.com/shop. All right, let's hear from Resa.
Hi, Raina. How are you doing? Thanks so much for having me.
I am super excited to have you on the show today. I think our listeners are in for a treat, girl. This is going to be an amazing conversation. I can feel it already.
Yes.
And I already love you because our children are one day apart, right? We're going to be talking about new motherhood, entrepreneurship, and what it's like to, be running the brand for a company that so many of us have grown up with our entire lives. So this is going to be fun.
Oh, I'm so excited. I'm so excited to have this conversation, to talk about motherhood and the struggles of, balancing work and family life, but it's all worth it, as we both know.
Yes. So I love to start our interviews going back in time, right? I think that we can't really think about where we are today if we don't think about where we've come from, right? So let's go back to 8-year-old Resa, right? What was inspiring you as a child?
As a child, I actually was a tomboy. So sports took up the most of my time. I love sports. There's something about it. I love the endorphins that I would receive. I love fitness from such a young age. I wasn't per se into beauty at that point in time. I mean, I was a tomboy, so I was wearing like my brother's clothes or whatever. I didn't care. But sports took up the bulk of my childhood.
What sport did you play?
Oh, girl, I did everything from basketball, track, cross country, soccer, volleyball. I snowboarded, softball, you name it. Anything I could do, anything I could do in a sport setting, I was involved. Kickball during recess. I just love fitness from such a young age.
So what was the dream for you then? Maybe as an adolescent, did you want to become a professional athlete, or did you always know that, I got this family business I'll probably be part of in some way?
Actually, for my family's business, my parents never even brought it up as like something that any of us would go into. Their whole thing when they were raising us was follow your dreams and your passion and do whatever that is. So that could have meant if I wanted to be a doctor, if I wanted to be, a finger painter, professional finger painter, they were they supported us in whatever way we wanted to pursue our careers. Beauty was most something at that age I wasn't interested in. My sister was more into like, getting her nails done, hair done, all that. That didn't like make me excited as a child. But my family, they did a great job in allowing us to find our own path in this world, where I do notice a lot of other people who come from family businesses that are kind of forced into it. They always have a level of resent toward their parents. And I'm proud to say that was not the case with me.
So what was the thing that you loved, or what was like, when you were, let's say in high school or even your early college days, like what did you think that you were going to get into post-college?
So when I turned about, let's say 14 years old, that's when I made the transition from being a tomboy to like a girly girl. I can't describe what happened. I believe I saw a movie and I was just like, oh my God, like, I think I kind of like makeup. I kind of like hair and I want to get into it now. So I knew I wanted to get into fashion and beauty when I was about 14 years old. And it just was a complete transition. I went from like wearing baggy clothes, or like my mom would buy me shorts, prior to me being 14. And I'd be like, they're too short. And obviously my mom's not buying me Dukes or anything. They Dukes. But I would want I would want my shorts to hit below my knees. And when I turned about 14, all of it changed. Like how I was dressing, how I did my hair, how I would sneak wear makeup to school, which is crazy because I was a kid that would be like, really? That's what we're doing? Makeup? So something happened. I just transitioned and turned into a super girly girl.
Okay. So then you kind of thought, I'll get a career in fashion and beauty.
Absolutely. Fashion and beauty was like my thing. Something happened. I can't really describe what. I believe I saw Devil Wears Prada and something happened. And I just all of a sudden was like, whoa, I want to get into girly stuff. But I always maintain having like a great exercise regimen. I love to exercise to this day. I exercise actually up until I delivered my daughter. I literally was having contractions every 5 minutes, and I walked the stairs in my building. So that's about 46 staircases. And I got to the hospital and I did yoga, prenatal yoga. So I still love exercising.
I was kind of like you growing up. Only thing was I love sports. So I was a track and field girl, right? I love track and field. It was my life. But let me tell you, track and field did not love me back. So I was like one of those kids who like, I was obsessed with the sport, but I wasn't necessarily good at it. But I think in that I learned for myself that I was a great team player and that I love the research. I love knowing behind the scenes of what's supposed to happen, right? So like I knew all the top runners in my area. I knew all like the science behind track and field, but I don't know why my body just was like, girl, you are not meant to be a professional at this, right? What was a thing for you, Resa, that you realized you were really good at growing up?
As far as sports goes, it was running. Everyone realized I had a natural talent for running. When I was a freshman in high school, I outran the senior girls at the school and got MVP. So that was like a big deal. And that was for cross country. But similar to you with track, my coach at the time kept trying to make me run 100 meters, 200 meters. And I wasn't performing, but I knew I loved to run. And eventually when I got to high school, I had a coach who realized you're not a sprinter. You're a long distance runner, which is a unique thing for somebody of color, right? Because we're usually known to be sprinters. So I most definitely excelled when it came to running long distances. Then as I transitioned to being this girly girl, because that's about the time, and I stopped running in high school competitively, people realized like I had a sense of style when it came to fashion. People realized I understood makeup. I love to play around with, different hairstyles. So it was a lot going on.
Okay. So you ended up going to Columbia College in Chicago. Did I get that right?
Columbia College, Chicago. That's where I graduated.
What was your major, and did you feel like college was worth it for you? I asked that because now, as somebody who has gone through college, I sometimes even can't remember what I did. I'm like, what did I do in college again, right? Was college worth it for you, and what did you get out of the college experience?
I wasn't really one of those kids that was like excited about college. A lot of people, like my husband and I, we were high school sweethearts. And so that's a whole long story. But we were high school sweethearts, and you know the story. You know, you break up, you go separate ways, get back together. That's our story. Anywho, he knew he wanted to go to an Ivy League school. He went to the best business school in the country, and I was kind of like, college, I gotta go. I don't care where I go. I didn't really care, and that's weird looking back on it, because now it's like, man, if I would have known, you know. Then what I know now, I would have went to this type of school. I would have went to a state school with a big football team. We would have been like partying every weekend, right? But thank God I didn't do that, because I probably wouldn't have finished. But my dad always really wanted us to go to HBCUs. So I actually started off at Hampton University. And it wasn't my kind of, I mean, it was a great school, great university. It just wasn't the right fit for me. So that's something that moving forward, I know with my children, I will make sure, like, hey, I know I want you to go to UCLA, but if it's not your fit, we got to figure out where it's best for you. But I didn't know up from down when it came to college. But when I got to Columbia, I really felt like they had a great program for marketing. So I majored in marketing communications, focusing on advertising, minor in PR. And the professors there were phenomenal. A lot of them worked in the industry, and a lot of them are retired from, you know, the PR advertising world. And they did a great job on helping me fine-tuning what I wanted to do, because I knew I wanted to go into beauty and fashion. They were like, can you write? I'm like, ooh, that's not my strong suit. And then they helped me. It's like, well, you know, you need to go into marketing. When I was at Hampton, I was undecided. And when I got to Columbia, they really helped me figure out what was going to be my strong suit. They're like, do you want to sew? No, I don't want to sew. Do you want to do this? Do you want to do that? They really did a great job of helping me figure out what I wanted to do. And I just wish as a child or a high school student, I would have taken advantage of going on more college tours and having more friends that were upperclassmen to really gain insight on what it was exactly I wanted to do in the beauty and fashion realm. Yeah. I did want to go to school to be a cosmetologist, but when I was speaking to the cosmetologist at that time, remember the recession was happening. They told me, don't do it. They're like, you know, my clientele base is falling off. You know, people are being hit hard financially, so they can't afford to come to me. They're like, I suggest you find something else. And a lot of them suggested going into the medical field.
What about marketing spoke to you? Like, why do you think marketing was a good path for you?
Marketing spoke to me because, well, I knew specifically I didn't just want to sell dog food, right? I wanted to market beauty and fashion. It's something that I actually loved. I envisioned myself finishing school at Columbia and moving to New York to work for whoever and just getting my feet in the door somewhere. Just the fact that I could work with a designer or a company that brings products to life, hair products, cosmetic products, the fact that you could work along a team who's helping to formulate or design these products, and you're a part of that process. So you know the journey that you went through to achieve, to get the final product, to bring it to life. It just excited me. And like sharing that story with the consumer, even more so, like won me over. It's like, oh my God, when I used to work in retail in college, I worked at Armani Exchange when it was hot. And like working with a company such as Armani, you had so much insight of what was going on with their prestige brands. And so when it came time to selling the accessible brand to a consumer, you know, I could say things like, oh, well, you know, this top, you know, they have it a part of the prestige collection, but they made a couple of tweaks to make it accessible so we can all afford to buy it. And, you know, this was seen on this celeb and that celeb, and they brought this to life based off of whatever the designer at the time who was working for Armani got the idea from.
Okay, so that you realize this was your talent too, because I feel like not everyone, some people think they're good at marketing, or some people think marketing's for them. And then when they actually do it, they realize there's a lot more to it than just creating pretty photos and, you know, working with models, right? There's actual a science behind all of this stuff. So that's what you were realizing was attracting to you as well, right?
Yeah, people get into marketing and they just think it's like the pretty glam, like easy career. No, to me, I mean, this is my family's business, right? So it's a little different, but I'm not hiring anyone who doesn't have somewhat of an analytical mindset, right? So for instance, if Luster were to come out and say, hey, you know what? We're going to come out with a product that is a hair moisturizer, and it's going to be $200 per bottle, and we're going to sell it here and there. that wouldn't make sense at a time like this. Why would it make sense at a time like this? Because we're in a pandemic. You have to know the analytical side to what's going on in the trade, what's going on in the marketplace. How are people being impacted financially? What brands are excelling right now? Why are they excelling? I need you to dive a little bit deeper than just being on a set with pretty models and have gorgeous packaging. You want to figure out how you can truly, truly, truly connect to that consumer. We know there's a trend going on in this space where women of color are now declining the purchase of high-end beauty products. The pandemic has hit them hard. They don't see the point of it. They realize they didn't know what to do at first. When it came to natural hair care, they were novices. But now they want to purchase products that they know have great ingredients. They also want to purchase products that have sustainable packaging. But most importantly, the number one thing these consumers want across the board, that's on the prestige side and the accessible side, is they want products that perform and actually work.
Yep.
So I need somebody to pull up to the table that has that kind of mentality when it comes to marketing. You have to be analytical. It's not just about the glitz and the glam.
Yeah. So, one thing that you mentioned earlier was that, after graduating, you thought like you could have gone to New York and kind of gotten your foot wet somewhere there. Why the decision, or what happened that made you say, all right, I'm going to join the Luster team?
So in college, it's so funny. In college, I worked in retail. I worked at Armani Exchange, and then I worked in Express, all when they were high, all when they were super high. Armani Exchange. And then I also interned at a PR agency, and I also interned at the headquarters of a well-known bank called NB Financial, which was now acquired, I think, by BMO Harris, I believe. And so my dad was, seeing and hearing about what all I was doing. And then he's getting my grades, and they're like straight A's and I guess a B here or there. And he came to me one day, I was like, would you want to intern at Luster? And this is my senior year. And I'm like, intern at Luster. And keep in mind, prior to that, I had a class at Columbia, and I had a professor, and she asked me what I wanted to do. I was like, I want to go into beauty and fashion, and then she looked at me, she was African-American, and she looked at me and said, you want to go into beauty and fashion? Why don't you go into your family's business? And I told her, huh? Like, I didn't even think about it. I was like, wait, what? Like it just didn't even, the dots did not connect. And so then, shortly after that, my dad was like, hey, what do you think about interning at Luster? Like, helping us with social media. At the time we had management in-house who, at that time, people didn't believe in social media. They thought it was just a trend and it was going to go away. And
what year was this?
Oh, God, this was for 2007. Oh, no. This was not 2007. This was, I graduated college 2012. So this was 2011. I graduated.
All right.
So,
I thought this was still like the YouTube time when people were starting to get into YouTube. Because I remember I graduated college 2013, but I remember in YouTube, I'm like, I'm going to start a YouTube channel, right? That was like people were starting to use social media to advertise and to market around this time. All right. So it's 2012.
But how I learned social media was a real thing is I took a social media course at Columbia. And the professor worked at an agency that specialized in social media, adjunct professor. And he gave the class an assignment. He was like, oh, guys, this is going to be a tough assignment. He was like, and if you get it right, I'm going to let you pass the class. Like, you just pass it. So we're all eager to hear what he's going to say. He's like, I need everybody to pull out their phones. So we all put out our phones. He was like, I need to delete the Facebook and Twitter and Instagram apps off your phone. And he was like, if you don't use it for an entire weekend, I'm giving you an A. So we were like, oh, this is so easy. Such a quick A. We don't need social media. When I tell you that next week when we returned to class, he was like, how did it go? We were all like, well, I was going to be quiet. But a classmate of mine was like, it didn't work out. And then we all like started to vocalize him like, yeah, it didn't work out for us. So he was like, I did that so you guys could see that social media is here to stay. It's not just a trend. It's not just a fad. It's here to stay. And so that's when I realized like social media is going to be powerful and it's going to be serious. And anywhere you go in this life, you're going to need it in just about every single industry.
How did you approach the internship, right? Because I think you could have said, hey, this is the family business. I don't have to take it seriously. But that wasn't the case for you, right?
You know what? No, it wasn't. And unfortunately, sometimes when kids do get into family businesses, they don't take them seriously. It's kind of like, I got a check coming in. We're good. But we came in because my dad, he tried to bring on, actually my father and uncle brought in all of us. So it's 5 of us total. My grandfather left behind 5 grandchildren. So when they asked us to come on, we were primarily known for pink lotion, right? We still are. We're just known for pink lotion. And we were trying to make that transition into, the natural hair space. And so I knew that wasn't going to be an easy transition, right? From having, we had relaxers, we had pink lotion, and this is a different category of the space we had never really tapped into. My sister and I were mostly natural growing up, but when it came to Luster actually manufacturing products that catered to women with natural curly, coily hair, we hadn't necessarily had a presence in that space. So I was actually eager because it was a challenge and I want a challenge. Even when I was pregnant, that's just who I am. I want a challenge. I want someone to tell me we can't be a key player. My husband had friends who told me when I was pregnant, oh, you're never going to lose your baby weight. Say goodbye to your body. And I'll have, 2 months after my daughter, I could fit clothes that I wore pre-pregnancy. So I love a challenge. I was excited about it. Mm-hmm. I knew that I was going to have days where they were going to be frustrating. I knew because my father is the president, CEO, and owner of the company, along with his siblings. I knew that certain directors were not going to be thrilled about me coming in because it's a generational company. And it's like, okay, she's gunning for my job. But that was never my father's intention at the time. That was never my intention at the time. Our intention was to scale the company, to offer a new product offering to consumers who were transitioning away from, chemically straightened products, and seeking products that had a natural ingredient story.
Okay, so what was the first task? So, you came into a company where they said, hey, Resa, help us learn social media, help us really make sure that we're making our mark in the digital world. What was the strategy then that you then used to start building the brand from the social media side? And, think about our listeners who are dream drivers themselves, who may be in the beauty hair care space, who are trying to start from the ground up, building and establishing a social media presence. What were some of your go-to tactics?
You know what? It wasn't as simple as me coming in here saying, hey guys, we need to start an Instagram, we need to start a Facebook, we need to do this, we need to do that. It wasn't as simple. I got a lot of backlash. No, we're going to continue to take ads out in whatever publication. It's like, no, this is serious. We got to do social media. We got to post. This is a serious thing. And at the time, people were not receptive. So to them, I was just being an annoying kid, right?
Wow.
They didn't understand the importance of it. And that's something, when you have people in generational businesses, whether your family owns an accounting firm, whether your family owns, some type of medical practice, you're going to have that generational pushback because the thing is some people feel like I've been doing it like X for so long, X is going to continue to work. Unfortunately, one of the best things I learned in college is to always have, especially being in a field like marketing, always have the willingness to learn. Things are constantly changing. So I got a lot of pushback. For years.
Wow.
For years. And but this is something that my dad, he understood. My dad is a forward-thinking person. So he understood the importance of it. And it took time to get the right people in-house that were on the bandwagon. But then the thing that was really hard for us at Luster is that we were noticing the consumer transition from being okay with brands talking to them, right? Brands talking to them to all of a sudden wanting a person to connect with them. So we had always been, as Lusters, very private people. We weren't in your face. You kind of knew the brands, but you didn't know us. So the transition of making, us more vocal, bringing awareness to the fact that we do remain a Black-owned, family-owned organization, that was also a challenge in itself. Social media, producing your own content via video, photos is not as easy as people think. But, someone who was doing someone who was on publications, just taking ads out of publications, it was pretty turnkey for them, right? You hire an ad agency that brings to life your creative, you call whatever publication, you have it dropped in. when you're editing videos, when you're taking pictures of yourself, it's a lot more work and energy that goes into it on the marketing personnel side. So we've come a long way.
So what were some of the things that you were seeing on social media that you were like, wow, this is really innovative, and you wanted to incorporate into the Luster strategy?
How-to content. I wanted to incorporate how-to content into our strategy. And it took years. It seemed like, for everyone to get it. It took years for everyone to get it. And I have to admit, as of late, people have gotten it. But it took years. I mean, we've had directors here that thought it was pointless, but I say to those who are ever put in that situation, keep going. Like, just keep going. Ignore what they have to say, especially if it's your family's business and you see the greater good. Keep going. Do not let anyone deter you from doing what is in the best interest of that company.
So was it that you were putting it out and then you were getting pushback from, hey, is this really worthwhile of our resources? What was that conversation like?
So it was at a time where people thought, like, hey, you pay an influencer to do a product review, and you can't get a guarantee that it's going to go viral. What if this product review doesn't go viral? So their whole thing was, how do you measure it? And I'm like, well, you just have to look at their following. You have to look at their engagement on their page. And then you have to decide if it's a well worth investment. And I understood it, but the reluctancy was, are we going to really get a return on the investment? Because, it wasn't something, it was just a change of doing things. And with change, you get a lot of pushback sometimes. But I knew how-to content was going to be pivotal because people needed to understand how to use these products. And we've been very blessed over the years where consumers or influencers just picked up the product on their own and used it, and content went viral. So we're very, very blessed for that. But now, today at Lusterland, we understand the importance of everyone in this building understands the importance of social media. My family understands the importance of connecting to the consumer so they know the Luster family still has 100% ownership of Luster products. We have no silent investors. We have no investors. This has been in our family for close to 65 years now. Next year, we'll make 65 years.
Wow.
So it's very important that people know that story. I can't tell you how many trade shows I've worked, and people have come up to me like, well, who owns you guys now? We're like, what? They're like, L'Oreal, Unilever, Procter & Gamble. I'm like, no, we're still owned by the family whose ancestor founded it. And they're like, wait, what? Like, no, you got it. No, that can't be right. And then eventually I'll have to tell them who I am. I'm like, no, I'm Resa B. Luster Mack. I'm third generation. My grandfather founded the company. And then it's like a whole different level of respect that we're given.
And I think it's really inspirational. While I'll be honest, right? I think that there can be, I would never look bad at a company if they did sell their company, right? But at the same time, to see that a company was able to retain ownership over 6 decades I think it also goes to show for a lot of Black entrepreneurs of color out there, that it is possible. Because a lot of times you think that's the only way that you can sustain your business is by selling it or getting funders, but there are ways to sell, to self-sustain and bootstrap and build a multi-million-dollar company. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but I need people, like, we're in it for the long haul. We're seeing a new wave of owners come into the beauty ethnic space, and they're in for the short haul, right? And you can't fault them for it. That's their dream. Some people go into business to literally scale it, grow it, and then sell. But my grandfather's passion was to do more than just become, I don't even think he wanted to become a rich man. His thing was to make sure his people were good. People that look like us could own their own cars, could own their own homes, could send their kids to college. We would give back to our community. We're very big on giving back to our community. We drive Toyotas to work. Our priority isn't sitting on Instagram, like holding designer bags, sitting in a Maserati and taking pictures. No, our priority is making sure that the people who helped build this company, they're good. The people who buy our products, they're good. We've donated millions to organizations throughout the years. And that's our priority as a company. But, that's the Luster way.
Hey Dream Drivers, this episode of Dreams and Drive is brought to you by Charmin. Those who use Charmin really enjoy the go. So as you guys know, Charmin has a variety of products to satisfy your to-go needs. We are talking about our bathroom experience. That is the one thing that we all have in common. All of us Dream Drivers have the need to go. So why not enjoy the go with Charmin? Softness matters at home and in the bathroom, and Charmin has a variety of products that makes your to-go experience that much better. There's Charmin Ultra Soft, which has irresistible cushiony softness, Charmin Ultra Strong for superior strength and absorbency, or you can try Charmin Flushable Wipes and get the freshest clean Charmin has. And don't forget Charmin's long-lasting Mega Rolls. Charmin aims to give you a better bathroom experience. At Charmin, they believe that won't happen if you finish it all off with the wrong toilet paper, which is why they make a toilet paper that's just right for everybody. So Dream Drivers, try Charmin and enjoy a better bathroom experience. Let's get back to the episode. I just want to circle back to what you were talking about earlier about working with influencers, because I think that for a lot of people who are building product-based companies, influencer marketing has to be part of your strategy, right? What are some other tips that you might have for Dream Drivers who are incorporating influencer marketing into their strategy?
I'm on Clubhouse, so like the new social media app Audio, where it's like a live podcast interaction. And I've heard a lot of influencers talk about, how, they feel like they've been taken advantage of. So they're at a point now where they won't disclose their rates until the brand pitches what it is they want them to do, the scope of work. For people who are beginning to work with influencers, be as transparent as possible with them. So if you have a budget of X, Y, and Z at that time, hey, I don't have a big budget. I got this going for me. Can you do it? And when you notice that your business ticks up, try to be as fair as you can be. Don't just keep them. Don't go on and make your millions and leave them making $200 a video. Be fair. You have to look out for those who looked out for you. And that's something that I feel like in our culture, we sometimes forget to do. You ever heard of like, I made it and I'll go back to look and thank those that helped me? I think that's very important for you to continue to help those who helped you. Case in point, during the pandemic, we could not get bottles in here. We manufacture our own products, but we don't manufacture bottles. We don't manufacture labels. We have suppliers that we purchase them from. We could not get anything. I mean, we had formula, we had, our ingredients, but we couldn't get the bottles, we couldn't get the jars, we couldn't get the labels. So that means we had nothing to sell, right? What are we going to do? Put it in a Ziploc bag? So my dad had to make a really tough decision, which was we're suspending all marketing efforts. No money is to be allocated. I got to make sure everybody in this building can feed their families. How many other people in his position would have thought like that? Most of them would have thought, oh, well, let's just keep going with the marketing and what's out there. Let's just get it pulled off the shelf and we're going to downsize on our employment levels. We care about our core because our core is what helped build this company. Our core is what is allowing us to be in the game for over 60 years. And I really want younger people to realize that. Those that have helped you, I don't care. It could have been somebody driving you to an interview at whatever major radio station and you got your big break and now you've got millions and millions of followers and dollars as well. Don't forget those people. You never know when you'll need them again.
That's so true. Is there anything else that you really learned about what it takes to really build a solid foundation of a business? You talked about making sure you're giving back, making sure that you're taking care of your core, making sure that you're open up to new ways of thinking about new innovative marketing strategies. What else do you really admire about the way that Luster approaches hair care?
One of the things that I think people that when they first start working at Lusterland, one of the things I think that shocks them is that every single person with the last name Luster is approachable. I mean, you could go in our lunchroom and you could see my father having lunch with somebody who works in our manufacturing plant. And they could talk about cards, baseball, basketball. We really have a family-oriented organization. So I would have to say, please remain humble. Always remain humble. You are better than no one. Everything you have today can be taken away tomorrow. But being humble will take you so much further in this life than having a messed up attitude and just being, cocky, conceited, whatever it might be, arrogant.
Resa, how did you approach building your career at Luster, right? Because, you came in as an intern and now you're a senior brand manager. Was it always, once you realized you wanted to stay, did you think about how you were going to chart your career path?
Honestly, I could still have the title as an intern right now. I wouldn't care. It wasn't I went into my family's business with the goal of helping to scale it, helping to grow it, not to come in here and not to personally make, millions of dollars. I'm like, well, I got to keep this around for now. Now I have to keep it around for my daughter, or before I had children, for my children. I just knew I wanted to scale the business. And what inspired me was seeing my father, my uncle, my aunt. I mean, my parents got a divorce, when I was about 16, 15 years old. And my dad still came to work every day, and as I get older, as a child, you don't understand how serious a divorce is, right? It's just like, okay, mom and dad don't like each other, done. But as an adult now, it's like, whoa, that had to be traumatizing. And you still had to go to work, have a happy face, put your best foot forward, think forward on what was best for the company, scale the business, so a lot of people, when we've heard of people in the industry that have just kind of given up because the divorce got that nasty, right? But just seeing their drive and their hustle also motivated me. I never went to my dad about, I needed a promotion. If anything, I think my father has been very, very impressed with my work ethic. Like we had people I've actually had bosses that would go to my dad, like, your daughter's working too hard. You have to tell her to stop. And he'll have to tell her, my kid, like, if she's not working, she'll be doing something else, like, that you don't know about. Like, she just goes. Like, I worked up until I had my daughter and I had 3 months paternity leave. And as soon as I had her, I was on a Zoom call that next week. Like, I love working. I love working. That was something that I knew before getting married, before having a child. I was always going to work.
So before we get into that, because I'm going to transition us into talking about motherhood and balancing a career, I want to really highlight the fact that you helped lead the launch for Luster's Pink Kids collection, right?
Yes.
What was that like? And, now it's in stores like Walmart, Sally Beauty, Dollar General. Like, what was it like taking this new concept and bringing it to market? And what were the lessons that you learned about throughout that process?
So we get industry reports from IRI, Nielsen, and they just do industry reports on the multicultural, I think, hair care categories. We saw that there was growth around kids products, but specifically natural brands around kids products. So we knew we needed to become a player in that category. One thing we knew that was driving that subcategory was detanglers. So one thing I'm really excited about is that that got me so excited is that I knew having one detangler wasn't enough, right? I don't believe in hair care is one size fits all. That's not the case in hair care. My sister and I have identical hair, but our hair takes to different products, right? So I knew for that line, I needed to have two different detanglers. One for a child who had medium to fine hair and one for a child who had medium to thick, coarser hair. And those products our detanglers perform phenomenally in that line. And that was just an exciting time. We got it into Walmart. We did a Pink Kids Power Tour where we traveled around the country promoting the line. But most importantly, we were able to touch the communities. Like we offered a dance contest. We brought celebrities in to talk and connect to the community, from Miss Mulatto, who now is Mulatto, from D-Lo. It was just a fun time. Local radio stations got involved. And, I remember going to St. Louis and there was a young lady there with her mom, a little girl there with her mom. And her mom was like, thank y'all so much for having this. Her dad was just shot the other day and she didn't want to do anything. And because you guys came to our city, she had a smile on her face. And that broke our hearts, Wow. But we were passionate about, and we thank Walmart so much for allowing us to do that at the time, going into their stores, setting up a dance floor, doing giveaways, bringing radio personnel in there, bringing celebrities. It was a very exciting time.
Wow. For dream drivers who may not have the budget to do, let's say, such an intensive launch, right? What are some go-to things that can always help when launching a new product to your customer base?
Start at the ground level. Like, please, I mean, you don't even need to tap into influencers yet at that point. Like, I wouldn't come if I had to start a product line tomorrow. I wouldn't tap into hiring any influencers. But you know who I would ask? I would ask my little cousins. I would ask my cousins my age. I would ask my mother. I would ask my auntie. I would just get the hands of the product. I would get product in people's hands that I knew. I knew that would like the product. I knew that would do social media around the product on their Instagram stories, and you can repurpose that. Some of that content is good enough where it could actually live on your brand's social media pages. So you can say that forever instead of the stories where it just goes away after 24 hours. I would also connect to a local beauty supply store. I would provide a marketing plan to them like, hey, I'm only selling this on e-commerce in your store. And this is how I'm boosting it on e-commerce and on social media. This kind of money I have behind it. And I'm going to drive people to your store for those that want to shop brick and mortar. You know, there's so many things you could do when you have a relationship. And maybe it's not a beauty supply store that you know. Maybe it's a salon owner you know who's willing to give you a shot and you can take up some of their shelf space in there. But most definitely don't go into the game just, you know, looking to really scale the business with like $100,000 budget.
Knowing that you only got a $1,000 budget, right? Like, work with what you have, right?
I'm telling you, we've seen people come in this space who are blending stuff in their kitchen and they are worth multi-million dollars now. So, I mean, and at first, you know, some people are like, really blending stuff in a blender? Haha, you're so funny. No, now they're the ones laughing all the way to the bank. So you do not have to break the bank to grow a brand. You know, do what you can. I'm in clubhouse rooms all the time. And someone brought up a good point of, you don't necessarily now want to come out with full collections. Why? Because say something happens and you can't fund getting the product, reordering the product and bringing it to life, you're in a hole. So make sure that you come out with 1 or 2 items, right? Get those off the ground, build some momentum, build some traction, build that awareness, and then start to build out your brand. You know, that way you don't have to really nickel and dime yourself when it comes to your marketing support efforts.
Thank you for sharing that. So let's talk about the thing that is dear to my heart right now, right? So as we are talking, I have my son Axel in the background. He's in his little pack and play. He just woke up, so he's playing with his little thing, right? His little toys. Motherhood came into my life. So I found out I was pregnant January 2020. I had my son in September. And girl, you probably have felt this too, but you know how you think something's going to be, and then when it actually happens, you're like, whoa, 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 whoa. This is totally new, right? How has motherhood informed your journey to date? You know, how has it really changed who you are as a person and as a professional?
It's weird, right? Because we became moms during a pandemic.
Crazy.
I don't even think this is going to happen to people who, but being first time moms during a pandemic is like the wildest part, right?
It really is.
Already, okay, cool. But being a first time mom during a pandemic, oh my God. Like my husband and I, we don't have any nieces or nephews. So, and my husband is the youngest of 5. I'm one of 3. So we had never changed a diaper before having our daughter. It has been challenging for sure, but you just push through. It for sure has been very challenging, but you just push through and you do the best that you can. And you know you're in a pandemic, so you don't have the support that you would ideally have outside of a pandemic. But you just got to keep going. You know, I know some women, I think that I read somewhere a lot more women had postpartum because of the pandemic, and even regular people develop severe depression. But just keep going, you know, just keep going. And that's all I do. Literally today, I was getting ready to come to Lusterland and I looked up and I was on Clubhouse. I was on a Zoom call. My daughter was screaming. I was getting ready to do an interview where I had to dress up and do my makeup. I don't know how I did it, but I got it done. So for those women who are in that predicament, just keep going. Take a couple of breaths, because I know I take a lot of deep breaths throughout my day to get me through. But just keep going. Don't stop. Don't stop. And then when your kids are 18, I'm sure we're all going to look up and laugh like, oh my God, I can't believe, you know, I did all that. But it's going to give you a sense of satisfaction, because I've seen the other side of the table where the women don't work and their kids, you know, go to college and they feel like they're lost in this life. So I think it's important to set that role model tone for your children, to know that you have a mom who's a hustler, who's passionate about making sure you have a great life.
I think for me, I totally can agree with you on that. I think for me, being a mom during a first-time mom during a pandemic has taught me about the strength within, right?
Yeah.
Like, you may have not known that you would have been able to get so many things done. I know mothers are just multitaskers just by the nature of what the job entails, right? But I think that there's something to say about realizing, wow, like, I didn't think I could do it, but I actually did it. There's so many times where I'm like, oh my God, this baby only slept, like, only had 3 hours, but I was still able to get on a phone call, get things done. The strength of a mother is unmatched. I'm telling you.
Absolutely.
Unmatched. So how do you, like, now that you're back at work, I know you said you had 3-month maternity leave. How are you managing being a mom and also having a career? Because I think that's something that a lot of people, they don't know how they'll be able to manage going back to work. Are you doing it full time? Are you splitting your time? What does your day look like now?
Oh, God. So my daughter was supposed to go to daycare. So with the pandemic, my mother-in-law, my aunt, they were totally against it. They were like, she is not going to daycare. Too much is happening. There are daycares that are just shutting down because they keep getting these outbreaks. So I was planning on sending my daughter to daycare. And then we had to make a tough decision as a family and say, that's a big risk. Babies, if they get it, they tend to be okay, but a small percentage have passed on. But we had to make a decision as a family that was going to happen. So I am bringing my daughter to work every day.
Really?
I'm bringing her to work every single day. I don't work in my office. I'm now in one of our conference rooms in the front, so we're away from everybody else. But for me, I didn't want to work from home with her because I just felt like there's so many people in this building that come to work every day. And for me to sit at home with my child, I thought it was kind of like a glamorous look and an unfair look. So I purchased like a crib, I purchased toys, and I've set up at Lusterland with my daughter. I'm literally in her daycare room, it feels like. And that's just something that I felt like I had to do to show my coworkers, like, no, I'm going to come to work still. I'm going to do the best that I can with balancing being a mom and, a wife and an executive. And it's tough. And one thing I didn't really start doing consistently was how-to content. So on top of coming to work every day and doing my brand management work, I'm also doing how-to videos, editing myself included. So I don't know how it gets done, but it does. And yeah.
It's amazing that, the Luster team allowed you that flexibility, right? Because a lot of times, a lot of moms don't have that. So that's
right.
So amazing. And do you ever feel like people give you pushback for bringing her to work? Or do you think that it's like a good morale system, the office baby in a sense, like knowing that you're committed to what you're doing?
Okay, so here's the deal. Before I got married, before I had kids, my sister and I, we got a dog in college. His name is Romeo. Okay. And so we would sneak him to work. And then my dad would get so upset with us. Like, what's wrong with you two? Why are you bringing that dog in this building? Your grandfather is rolling over in his grave. You do not bring I bring a dog into a corporation. What are you thinking? And so we would just sneak him from office to office and hide him and come up with an excuse like, oh, the house is cold, so we don't want to leave him there. So anywho, eventually her and I stopped bringing him. And our coworkers would go up to my dad like, Jory, I really liked when Romeo would come to work, and they started this Romeo, community was like brought to life. And my dad was like, whoa, like people really like having an animal at the job. And my dog doesn't bark. You don't know he's here. He's very quiet. And so my dad realized, I'm like, okay, well, we'll bring Romeo to work. Like we have people that literally would come around to find Romeo, like, I just had to see him today. I was having a stressful day, but Romeo, I'm good. So when Reese, my daughter, started coming to work, we sent out an email like, hey, this is what's going on, but if they see her in the hallway, if I'm with her, like going to the restroom or something, they give her a wave. They're like, oh my gosh, she just makes me so happy. I love babies, so no pushback. Everybody's been very warm and friendly about it. And most importantly, they realize that it's a pandemic going on.
Yeah, and I think, I think a lot of times, a lot of businesses are realizing now in the pandemic that the things that we thought had to be norms don't have to be norms. You can always change. And I think a lot of businesses have been more flexible and realizing that it's not taken away from your ability to do your job, right? And I
Right.
think that's something that a lot of us can take away too. But we've been talking about a lot of the positives, a lot of the innovative things. But personally, Resa, oh, sorry, this Mister, he just started to turn up on me right here.
Oh.
Personally, what do you think has been a personal challenge for you, like throughout this past year? Motherhood, the pandemic, making sure the business is still on track. What's that challenge for you, and how are you working through it?
Asking for help. I am worse when it comes to asking for help. And that's with anybody. That's with friends. That's with family. I have to learn to do better when it comes to needing help, because I'm so like a self-driven, self-starter kind of person that asking for help, I feel like I'm burdening someone when I ask them for help. So I want to get better as a person, just asking for help. Something like simple things, it just bothers me. Like, I'm literally the type of person, if I could be at a girlfriend's house and I need a ponytail holder, and I could say, hey, do you have this? And you know how your friends can be like, what'd you say? And I'm like, I'll literally say, never mind, I'll be right back. And I'll go to the store. Like, I'm just really, I don't like to ask for help. It's something that I have to work on.
Yeah, I think that we all have that. I think for me too, it sometimes I feel like people would view me as failing or as being weak if I say, hey,
Yeah.
this is not going as I thought. Can you guys help me out? But once you are able to get that help, you realize that burden, you kind of feel a relief, wow, like, why didn't I do this before? You know what I mean?
Absolutely. I know exactly what you mean.
What do you envision, or where do you see Resa in the next 5 years? I know that's a big question, but if you could build the dream road, right? Like, where would you be driving towards?
My passion is making sure that my family is healthy. That is my number one thing. Making sure that my family's business is also financially healthy, and making sure that we're continuing to offer innovative products to meet that consumer's care needs. I hope in 5 years, I do learn the power of asking for help. I hope that I hope that I don't feel as weighed down by it in 5 years, and maybe launching or, doing something else in a different space, not beauty, but maybe getting into another industry on the side as well is something that I would love for my husband and I to pursue.
I saw in your Instagram bio, your new favorite hobby is stocks, right?
Yes. So my husband actually went to college for finance, worked on Wall Street, and transitioned to Chicago to work for a hedge fund. And when we were dating, he decided, I'm emphasizing he decided, he didn't like the job. And at this point, we were back dating for like, I don't know, three years. I'm like, whoa, what do you mean you don't like your job? You love your job. You want to do this since we were kids, since we were high schoolers. And I think what he was really saying is, I want to do something more meaningful. I want to make sure that our people are good, because what happened was he left Chicago at 18, went to an Ivy League school, worked on Wall Street. So he was working with like-minded people, right? People who had the same financial status as him, people who had the common goal of reaching, that next level of the firm, management, directors, ownership, whatnot. And he would come back to Chicago and hang out with his friends. And he realized it was a totally different mentality. And his friends, weren't in the same financial state as he was. So his passion was like, I want to teach people how to invest so we too could have generational wealth. So that was a really powerful thing for him to do. And with him doing that, I was able to finally understand how to invest in stocks as well, and all types of fun stuff. So I do enjoy investing in stocks. We wake up every morning. Obviously, he's watching the stock market, and we have great conversations about those various investments.
And I think I think that it's really important for us to be multi-passionate, right? Because you never know what going down that road and how that can help inform the work that you do at Luster. And then it also gives you, I think that so many of us feel like you can only do one thing in life, right? Like, let's say I only could ever have the Dreams and Drive podcast. What kind of life would that be, right? We have to be open to change, and we have to be open to our passions evolving. That's something I've learned along this journey.
And most millionaires have multiple streams of income. So it's not just one thing. You need to diversify that portfolio. You most definitely diversify that portfolio. And there are other things that I feel like, people should take advantage of too, right? If you get into a 529 plan for your child, you're not going to be paying as much as if they just went to a university and the university hands you a bill. You're paying over time, and that account is accruing interest. So it's helping you. And then if your child, let's just say your child becomes the next Beyonce and never wants to go to college, guess what? For your child, so for your grandchildren, you could gift them this money to go to college, because not everybody who's Beyonce's kids are going to end up like Beyonce too. So, there are other ways too to invest outside of the stock market. But it's very important for people of color to learn the importance of investing your money, because just putting your money in a traditional savings account, it's just sitting there, trust me. But when you invest it into certain great opportunities, investment opportunities, you could really see that money scale over time.
Exactly. That's actually something that I've really been thinking about now that I'm a mother, right? It's like, what does legacy really mean? Especially as a Black woman, what am I leaving so that he'll be in a better place than where I started? You get what I'm saying? Because I think generational wealth is something, it's amazing that you come from a family that has been able to build that you have something to pass down to your daughter. But I think a lot of us really do need to start thinking about what are ways that we can really, really build a legacy for our children and our ancestors to come. So thank you for sharing that.
I think it's so important. I'm going to keep saying this to everyone. That Gucci bag that you bought in a couple of years, you ain't gonna know where it's at. You're not even gonna care about it. But lose value. Same thing with luxury cars. The minute you drive them off of a lot, they depreciate in value. So I really caution us to, let's re-strategize where our important lies. Let's take on these investments. I know it may be scary to some, but long term, you don't invest for okay, this stock looks great. Okay, it's going to go by next week and I can pull it out. No, when you invest, it's for the long haul, meaning you're not pulling that money out for 10 years, 20 years, or probably never in some cases. You could gift it to your family. But it's very important for us as a community to invest. Only 7% of businesses are made up of only 7% of businesses are owned by African Americans. The rest of it is everyone else owning businesses. So we have a very high spending dollar, right? We contribute a lot to the spending, but we don't have that many businesses that are owned by us. So I want to throw that out there too.
That's important, right? And I love that, Luster is part of that legacy of showing that it is perfectly okay and it's perfectly possible to keep it in the family and to grow a business that is 100% Black owned and family owned. Resa, I have a parting question for you, right? Thinking about all that you've been through, all that you've accomplished, what makes you most proud about what you've been able to do with your career and your dream driving journey?
Not giving up makes me proud because, like I said, everyone around me in high school, they knew what school they wanted to go to. They had passion about it. They were excited. And a lot of them went on to actually really excel in school. And some who knew it wasn't what they expected it to be. And they didn't excel, but they eventually got it together. But, I was kind of the child where my family was like, oh, Lord, what are we going to do? So I never gave up on myself, even when I felt like some people did give up on me, if that makes sense. So just having this self-awareness of it'll be okay. You'll get through it. Literally, somebody posted on their Instagram or something. Oh my God, I'm going to have to text this to you. Somebody posted a quote by Missy Elliott, and I had to repost it. And Missy Elliott said this: don't beat yourself up because it seems like everyone else's goals is happening and yours are not. Your path is different. So just continue to work hard until your time comes. And when it does, you will be proud of how you kept working no matter how hard times got. That spoke to me so much because I'm 18. I didn't know what I wanted to do, but everybody else knew they wanted to go to the Ivy Leagues, top 10, HBCUs. And I'm kind of like, oh, okay, that's where y'all want to go. Like nothing excited me. Like I didn't understand. I just didn't understand. And it wasn't that I was sheltered. I just didn't understand. And I don't know how I didn't. But when it finally clicked, when I finally got to Columbia College and they really sat with me and helped me fine tune what it is I wanted to do. I mean, everything just kept going up from there. Everything, my grades, A's, B's, the extracurricular, this. Teresa, you intern opportunities were just happening where I had friends that got into those top 10 schools. They couldn't find an internship, or HBCUs, they couldn't find one. But I did in an industry that I was actually majoring in. So just not giving up and believing in myself, because I could have really have taken the wrong turn. And I do have to thank my parents for helping me through that time.
Thank you so much for sharing that, Resa. And I think that for me, it also is a reminder that when you tap into what you're meant to do, things align, right? Like when you find out you're in the right place and you really tap in and you don't fight it, that's when the dominoes start falling down for you. You know what I'm saying? You get that visualization right there? Like things start falling into place. So thank you so much for sharing your journey here today.
No, thank you for having me.
So before we go, right, you can't be a dream driver without your keys to success, Resa. Can you tell me 3 things that you think every dream driver needs in their toolkit before they hit the road?
Before you hit the road, I personally think you need to be able to listen, because when you're always talking, you're missing out on an opportunity to learn something. I also think having the capacity to remain calm when everything is just turned upside down and, it's a lot of tension, remaining calm will also help you a lot. Trust me, I can tell you that firsthand. And then just continuing to have the willingness to learn. Don't ever think you know it all. Don't ever think you know it all. Because when you get in that state of mind, you're missing out on opportunities that could have been at your disposal, but you were just too cocky or big-headed to take advantage of it because you felt like doing things your way was it. So those are the 3 things that I think you should keep in your toolbox in order to succeed in this life.
All right. So that's it, girl. Thank you so much. This is so informative. And I'm just so impressed by just all that Luster has been doing. And it's really an inspiration to me that you can build something from the ground up and you don't got to sell it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, my grandfather, I didn't tell you the backstory on him. He was a barber on the south side of Chicago. I think my family got mad when I said this before in another interview, but I'll say it again because I think it's so powerful. My grandfather had to stop going to school at 6th grade to help his parents take care of their family. That's a child who's helping his parents take care of his family. And then for him to build something like Luster, he became a barber, worked in a barbershop, his own barbershop on the south side of Chicago. His clients would come to him complaining about having a dry, itchy scalp, dry hair. He took it upon himself just to help them. He wasn't looking for compensation. He was just like, hey, let's figure something out that can help you. He mixed ingredients together in his barbershop. He passed it along to his clients, and then word spread around the Chicagoland area, and then Luster Products was born. I mean, this is somebody who just had a passion for helping his people. They're going to stores. They can't find anything to accommodate their dry, itchy scalps. And he took it upon himself. He wasn't looking to be compensated. He was just like, look, you're my client. Let me help you out. And from there, that's how Luster was born.
Amazing. And it just shows that it really starts with just solving a simple problem for your consumer. Yeah. And then scaling it from there. You never know. You never know how just really say, hey, I'm going to help you figure out how to solve this problem could really lead you down the line of generational wealth and generational legacy. So
absolutely.
You know what I loved? The video that you posted showing you were breastfeeding your daughter and you were on a call or something. I'm like, listen, that is life right now. I really love that image. Thank you for sharing that.
Oh, girl. Thank you so much. That was real, though. It was like I was on a Zoom call and I was on the phone.
Do you ever feel like people judge you because you're doing that on a Zoom? Like, I just wonder, this is not in the interview. I'm just wondering, like, how do you navigate that? Or is it kind of normalized now because people know that you have your daughter and she's with you?
Well, I think it's a society. People are getting, like, breastfeeding is now, like, a common thing where before it was kind of frowned upon. We saw somebody breastfeeding. And I'm not going to lie. I used to frown upon people like, why would they do that there? Because you just got done. You know, like I used to frown upon people that would just breastfeed, and now becoming a mom, and as much as I got going on, you're just doing what works for you, you know? So I wish somebody would say, I mean, I got a couple comments under that post, like, you know, your daughter's suffocating, stop, whatever they say. And I'm like, girl, please, my child is great. She's fine, I'm fine. And thank you so much for caring or whatever. But we're good. I'm never going to do anything to put her in harm's way. I'm literally trying to secure the bag while taking care of her, you know, which is something I think a lot more girls need to see. It's not as, a lot of people want to be like, you know, moms, but they don't understand the rough side of it. You know what I'm saying? Like they kind of just see oh, you're a mom and you get to take pretty pictures with your baby on Instagram. No, you still got to get work done and you're not going to be pretty all the time. I look like a limp ball in that, in that video, but I was like, you know what, but this is real, you know, so let's show it.
Exactly. Like people, if they could see me right now, I'm navigating, like, you know, holding the baby, making sure he's not talking, while also knowing that I still need to do Dreams and Drive interviews. And I can't like just keep holding them up. Cause for a long time, I'm like, wait, I can't do interviews anymore. I have a baby, but I had to get back into the mindset of no, you can do interviews and you'll figure out how to do it with your child. So that's something that I'm very thankful for guests who are, you know, understanding and realizing that, listen, this is a pandemic, life has changed, and we're making it work how it's going to work. So
absolutely.
All right, so that's a wrap for episode 264 with Resa B. Luster Mack. I hope you enjoyed hearing her dream driving journey as well as her keys to success. If you guys enjoyed this episode, you already know what to do. Please make sure that you are following us across social media. We are Dreams and Drive across the board, and use that hashtag Dreams and Drive. Screenshot this episode wherever you're listening. Post it on your social media channels. Let other people know how much you enjoyed hearing Resa's story and all that she and her team are doing at Luster. I really enjoyed talking to Resa, and I especially enjoyed our conversation about motherhood and entrepreneurship and career and how she is trying to manage it all and not give up on her own dreams. If you guys want to support the show, you know there are several ways that you can do so. We still have Dreams and Drive merchandise available at dreamsanddrive.com/shop, or you can also donate to the show. Go to dreamsanddrive.com/donate to see the options available. I really love everyone who's part of our Patreon community. For $5 a month, you can support Dreams and Drive. If you want to join our weekly newsletter, The Keys, and get weekly updates from me via email, just go to dreamsanddrive.com/join. That's dreamsanddrive.com/join. And don't forget, guys, if you know somebody who would be a great guest for the show, or if you might think your story is one that we dream drivers need to hear, you can fill out our online pitch form at dreamsanddrive.com/pitch. That's dreamsanddrive.com/pitch. All right, keep dreaming, keep driving, and we'll chat again in episode 265. Bye, guys.